Hey everyone, I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes and Stitcher, and for watching our live feed. You can always see our shows on inspiredmedia360.com and of course on Facebook and YouTube at inspiredmedia360. So today we are talking about how to make a comeback. You know, when you feel like things have really kind of gone wrong in your life and you need to figure out how to recalibrate, Tim Hattrick is joining. Hello.
Tim.
I
was like, I know a guy
named Tim Hattrick. Tim, you have a pretty dramatic story, and I want to thank you for coming on and really sharing such a personal part of what you have gone through. Professional decisions, financial decisions that led to you losing your retirement savings.
That's right.
We'll talk about how that happened in just a moment. But first, around Arizona, you were a well-known radio personality for many, many years. You had a very successful run on KNIX. How did you first get into radio?
I grew up here in Phoenix. I listened to Bill Haywood as a kid growing up. I had my favorites. There was a guy named Jonathan Brandmeier when I was going off to college that was just a crazy DJ. And I don't know, for some reason, I just got that bug at an early age and decided, man, sit in a room, play some songs, and talk. That sounds like a life for me. And
you teamed up with Willie, and you guys ended up with a really successful show. So when you figured out that you had this winning recipe, what was that like? You were riding it high, and everyone knew you around town. Yeah, we had 25 years together on the radio. We started in Tucson, most of our years in Phoenix, a brief stint in Chicago. And Carey, I can't believe we had that much success for that long, because we really just had a great time. We were just like two buddies who talked to each other, and people seem to like listening to that. So I've got no regrets about the career. Willie and I are still great friends. Yeah.
We kind of, the last chapter of the Tim and Willie show was our own venture, not unlike what you've got going here. You know, we wanted to build our own network and kind of control the amount of fun we could get to have, because we'd worked for the big companies, and the economic pressures on the bigger companies was making
the radio business has changed. I mean, broadcast business has changed so much.
And so we wanted to just get back to having fun. So we decided to build our own thing. We had a small network of stations around Arizona, and we knew that we would be there for a while and hopefully build an audience digitally. And so it was great. It was a lot of fun, but it was so much work, much more than we anticipated. And I would say, you know, if we left the big corporate stations because we didn't like working for some of those bosses, the worst boss I ever worked for was me.
Being an entrepreneur is a whole different ballgame.
It's hard, and I had to wear a lot of hats, as I'm sure you know. It's pretty exhausting. But, you know, it was fun, and yet when it was over, Willie and I said, well, we'll keep going if there's a station out there. We looked at a few opportunities, and Willie said, hey, I'm okay if you just want to keep going. I'll run up the hill and live in Prescott where he has a house, and so that's what he's doing now.
So you guys, your actual radio show ended in 2012?
2012.
And it canceled, or you guys decided to opt out?
We pulled the plug on it ourselves, and it was a venture that I invested in. I took my retirement money and invested it. And I've always, Carey, had this confidence. I mean, after that much success and just kind of continuing, I always had one job, was waiting after the next job. I felt like if this works, it's great. If it doesn't, we can find a job. And so I'll worry about my retirement money later. I can always make the money back.
So you went all in after you guys left KNIX.
Yes.
By the way, were you brokenhearted when that show came to an end on KNIX?
It was part of probably this phase of our career where maybe we were getting a little bigger in our britches than we really ought to have been.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the mountaintop of our career. We were there for almost 10 years, and we left because we thought, we could find better circumstances. And so it's kind of funny that that was the beginning of this process of sort of getting humbled, and kind of finding out the real world kind of aspects of life. So it was after that we did a short stint on another station, and then ended up with our own venture. And you talk to any financial advisor, what'll they say? Don't ever spend your retirement money on anything, but don't take it out until you retire. And economically, it was not a great decision.
So you decided to invest everything, all of it. Mm-hmm. You took it all out.
Yep. We were making money with our own venture, but there was just other circumstances, like the amount of work, and it just seemed like both of us felt like this has been fun. We could make money, but It's time. It's just time.
Were you doing radio shows or were you podcasting?
Both. We did a radio show on 5 stations around Arizona, and then we also had an audio stream and a video stream.
So tell me this, when you started to realize a couple years back that this wasn't going to work for you guys, and you knew you had gone all in with your retirement savings, you have a wife,
yes,
you have a family.
Right.
How scared were you?
Never scared. I thought, I'll find a job. And, first of all, I want to say I had all this money that I needed, thank God, when, we had 5 kids and they were all out of the house. And so I'm grateful that when I needed money the most, we did have money. But and I thought, I'll find another job. So when Willie decided he was going to hang up his headphones, I started to look at radio jobs for myself. And then when those weren't opening up, I started looking at associated fields, advertising, marketing, PR. And even those jobs, I couldn't seem to break through. And Carey, I want to say I'd never, since I was in high school, maybe, filled out an application or done a resume in my life, because there was always one radio job after another. So Here I was, 53 years old, going, how does this work? I'm on Indeed and jobbing.com, and I think I probably applied for, all total, maybe 1,000 jobs in 4 years. And if I heard back from 15 of them, I'd be surprised.
How did you keep your confidence up? You're a positive person by nature.
Yes.
But that is a tough pill to swallow when you have been this, not only a successful person, but very popular, where people recognized you all over town and you guys were celebrated and you were emceeing all these events. And then all of a sudden you're turning in 1,000 job applications and getting back maybe 15.
Yeah, basically. It's interesting. Well, first of all, I have to say it's my wife and my family, but mostly my wife, Connie, just hung in there with me, and she was just very much an anchor and a rock for me. My faith in God, grew and expanded and changed and is much deeper. But there was something interesting that happened. So as I couldn't find jobs even in these associated fields, then, like the Bills, they don't care if you're in your dream job or not. They start to tug at your pant leg, like we're hungry.
Yeah.
So I just went, as most people would. You just take any job. Like I had this creative vision and dream. I just didn't know, would it be a blog or a podcast or something? And yet I thought, well, that's not going to pay the bills. So let's look at any and every kind of job we can. I like driving, okay? And I love talking to people.
Yeah.
So before long, I ended up driving for Uber.
I got to tell you, that seems cool and fun.
It was as close to doing a radio show as possible, because I just met so many interesting people and all these stories I'd hear from them. And it made me go, I started writing them down, actually. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these, but I got to tell these stories.
Did people recognize you?
A few.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was nothing about it that was like, humiliating. It was always just sort of humbling. And one thing that happened was I took a seasonal job with Amazon at the fulfillment center. You've been on Amazon, and it says if you order this in the next hour, you can get it an hour later.
That gets me every time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know why. Because inside the Amazon fulfillment center, it's called Phoenix 6, Southwest Phoenix, 2 million square feet of shelf after shelf. You know that end scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark where they put it was just an endless sea of items for Amazon, and I was a picker, and I went in for 11 hours. A little screen pops up and says, go get this item. It's in X and Y in the place, and you have to hustle to get it, pick it, put it on the thing, and get the next one. And it was like, being inside the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I walked around that place going, who thought this up? So all these things were like so different than just sitting in a room and talking to people.
But it sounds like, even though these were not these jobs, good jobs, decent jobs, but it wasn't like your heart's desire.
No.
So the whole time was something tugging at you, like, what am I going to do next? I mean, psychologically, where were you at?
Psychologically, I still thought some place, somewhere, a job will open up. I really wanted to do a talk show, and so I was kind of bugging the news talk stations in town to hire me, and I couldn't seem to get them to do that. But all the while, I worked for a charity for a year and helped them kind of get their messaging out, and I ended up going to Africa with them for about 11 days, something I thought...
You were absorbing experiences along the way, which I think is something really cool.
Well, and that's kind of what kind of sustained me and kept me from being down about it. There were days I'm sure that I was just like, gosh, I can't find a job. What am I going to do? And but all the while, if you kind of keep your eyes open for the interesting and different parts of life around you, it kind of sustained me that way.
And then you ended up becoming a driver for UPS, right?
Yes. I have to tell you something. This is the best company. If you are looking for some short-term work, they're seasonal jobs. UPS hires 96,000 people nationally for between Thanksgiving and Christmas. About a third of them are these drivers. Now, to become a full-time UPS driver, there's a 7-year waiting list, and they hire from full-time and part-time employees within the company. But the amount of training they gave me, they have this cool high-tech training center at 31st Avenue and Thomas, and it's got the classroom, and then there's an obstacle course, and you learn the UPS system. I'm a safer driver because I learned how to drive for UPS, honestly.
UPS drivers are so nice, too. I love our UPS driver.
It's a really good company. They pay great, and they have great benefits. But all that to say, yes, about a week later, I ended up wearing the brown uniform and driving one of those big rattling trucks up the 101. And again, I was driving and talking to people all day, so I loved it.
All of this brought you back to radio. And I don't want to steal their headline, but there was a great headline in AZ Central, the paper, and it talks about your long road back to radio. And tell us how that happened, because now you are, and for folks who don't live in Arizona, you're back working for this station, KNIX, which is a popular station. It's really an amazing story.
Listen, I tell people, if I wrote this down in a book, I wouldn't read it because it's just too implausible. So I'm driving for UPS, and in fact, it's the last day I'm out with a supervisor, and he's asking me, do you miss being on the radio? And I said, well, I missed the fun of it. Yeah, of course. And I didn't think there was a radio job. I pretty much decided it wasn't happening. That door was closing. Great career, happy for it. But, I'm doing this seasonal job for UPS. And that day, I get a text out of the blue from somebody I'd met who's the vice president of programming for iHeart, which is the company that owns KNIX, this country station that Willie and I had been on for 10 years. And he just said, hey, we've got this special program to end the year. It's a countdown and, playing all the songs from the history of KNIX. Would you be a part of it? And I thought, that's cool. That sounds fun. Yeah, sure. But I thought it was going to be a 1 or 2 day gig. I told him, look, believe it or not, I'm actually driving for UPS right now, and I'd love to come down and talk to you, but I work sometimes till 8 o'clock at night. And this guy says, well, that's fine. Just come down when you're done with your shift. So I drive down there. I'm parking. I'm waiting for him to come get me, take me up to the 4th floor, just as their UPS driver actually shows up. And I'm thinking, this is going to be an awkward elevator ride. He meets me. We go up, and we kind of sneak through the building and into his office. And he closes the door. He says, okay, I do want you to host this, countdown show, but we're thinking of changing some things here at KNIX and playing a lot more of the mix of, country music from the last 10, 15 years, kind of when you were on KNIX, and bringing back some of the classic country that mixed in with the new country. And I mean, as he talked, I'm sitting there in my UPS uniform going, is this happening? I couldn't believe it. I seriously, I've seen amazing things happen in and out of the radio business. I was, well, like my Australian friends would say, godsmacked. I was just like, what? So I liked the idea instantly, and I kind of knew it was right in my soul, and I just said, well, I'm in no matter what. And at the end of it, because some personnel changes had to be made, as happens often in the radio and the TV business, this was a secret. This was a top secret. So he said, look, we've got to get you out of the building without anybody recognizing you. And I said, hand me a package. Like, this is the best disguise ever. I pull my hat down. I'll just walk out with a box and nobody will know.
That is so great. And when you walked out of there, tell me what you were feeling.
Well, I called my wife, and I don't even know. She probably thought I'd been in an accident or something. I was like, I can't believe this. You're not going to believe what just happened. And we were just so overjoyed and surprised. And I get goosebumps thinking about it, because I just can't believe how it turned around and worked out, and I'm back on KNIX, and it is strange, I'll tell you, not to be with Willie, and Andrea, and all those people from our show, but
they're great people.
Man, these two new partners of mine, Ben Campbell, I've competed against forever. He's a lot like Willie in that he's got this amazing talent.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And so part of my job is to just turn on his mic and let him just be amazing.
So I want to talk to you a little bit before we have to wrap about what this has taught you.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty profound what you have gone through, and I think your story speaks in a lot of ways to so many people.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people who just said,
yeah, but I mean, you're searching, and you want to find that thing in life where you're going to be not only making money, but you're happy.
Yeah, well, I tell you, if you could find a wife like my wife Connie, that's number one. But I think I was lucky enough to just gravitate towards things I liked. So even if they weren't the perfect job, I liked people and I liked driving. So I was always looking for driving jobs. I didn't care if it was like the auto parts driver. I just wanted to drive. And then for me, I felt a sense that I had to keep using my creativity somehow. I knew it wasn't going to pay the bills, but I got so into, as you say, storytelling. Like on my list to do in 2017 is to go to one of those storyteller nights.
No, they're great. They are amazing.
And the Moth, you know about the Moth, right?
No.
The Moth is kind of the grander scale of, it's this new trend of these open mic nights where you go and you show up, and if you tell a story that is deemed the best one of the night, you can win money, and there's a podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Storytelling has become a thing again. And
I live for that.
And I grew up...
Because everyone has a story.
Yes.
That's why I read your story in the paper, and I had to have you on the show.
Well, I'm glad you did, because I'm like I say, I can't believe it almost myself, and so I love telling. I appreciate the opportunity. And
you, just in closing, have you sort of gotten over the fact that you did lose your retirement? Were you able to put that to bed and just say, you know what, it happened?
We had a guy on our show when Willie and I first started Tucson, and he was just the most upbeat guy. And he'd say, if you got money problems, you don't have problems. So, it's better than having an assortment of other things, illness or tragedy, you can always make more money. And I'm probably like you. I'm inspired by people who had it all, lost it all, made it again.
Yeah.
So hey, it's a new dawn in our country.
Yeah, that's for sure.
This is what I tell people. I go, okay, so let me see. The Cubs win the World Series. Donald Trump is now president, and I'm back on KNIX. Like, what's next? Self-driving cars? I'm so sure.
Yeah, I have a Tesla that is self-driving.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just have to say, so it's all going down, Tim Hattrick.
Does it have the ludicrous mode?
I'm not sure. My husband knows how to work it a lot better than I do. What message do you want to leave people with? What do you want people to take away from your story?
Life is good. Try to stay happy. Call me if you need a pep talk. And believe in miracles, because I'm telling you, they happen and they're real.
And where can people find you?
Well, at Tim Hattrick is my Twitter, and Tim Hattrick on Facebook, and at KNIX Tim on Instagram.
I'm so proud of you, all down with the social media.
Oh, I'm hip. I'm cool. No, we have 27-year-old Brooke on our show, Brooke Hoover, who is the hippest girl ever.
She's the wind beneath your wings.
Oh, my God. Well, she's the wind beneath our digital platform. So.
Tim, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And congratulations.
Thank you. Great to see you.
And thanks to all of you for listening and for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our feed at inspiredmedia360.com. And, of course, check out our new talk show, In the Moment. It is live every Wednesday, and you can see it on YouTube and Facebook. Also on our site, inspiredmedia360.com. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez. Brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.